though, getting you back on your feet. A local rehab center is working with seniors in a new way to get them moving once again after a surgery or injury on the job.
Caitlin Stansel live right now from Wilmington to tell us more about this program. Caitlin.
Kim and Bob, technology seems to be advancing in almost every industry these days, even in the rehab business. Now, we're here at Liberty Commons in Wilmington, and they're using some new technology to make sure that their patients can get their independence back as soon as possible. And what they're using is kind of a video game system. It's called the OmniVR, and like any video game system, it uses games to interact with the patient. So officials say it helps those doing rehab keep their mind off the difficulty of the exercises they need to get done, and making the tough work to get their muscles back in shape a fun process. It works with most of the major muscle groups, from the legs, back and arms, even to the brain. So they have some cognitive games as well. And therapists say the most important part of the gaming system is that it documents the patient's progress. So it gives them a really clear understanding of where they are and help them build goals for where they need to be. But if patients say the most important part is the confidence and independence that it helps them regain.
Boy, we had a good time. And it's fun in it when you're doing it, and you're helping your body by doing that. The standing and everything. And the muscles, they just teach you so wonderful here. The muscles, my muscles and my legs and my body feel so much better. Because I'm used to going and doing, and I want to do for myself. I don't want nobody to have to do everything for me.
And you can tell just how excited these patients are by listening to Miss Myers. She was really involved in this game, playing some bingo when we talked to her the other week. And coming up, we'll tell you exactly how this video game system really works to help these patients get back home and doing things on their own. That's all coming up here in the next half hour, but for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Well, after an injury, it can be hard to get back to work and get things back to normal, especially for older adults.
But new technology that's now being used at a local rehab facility is working to get you and your independence back a lot quicker than ever. Caitlin Stansel joining us right now live this morning to tell us more about it. Caitlin.
Bob and Kim, it's called the OmniVR, and it's very similar to the Nintendo Wii or the Xbox 360 Connect programs, but it's being used in this professional setting. And while those recreationally based games really cater to young, healthy adults, this is more catered to aging adults or those with physical limitations. And that's what really makes this special and able to be used here in this rehabilitation center at Liberty Commons. Now, again, it works with some major muscle groups, so the legs, back, arms, as well as cognitive programs or games to work with speech and comprehension. And officials say the game format has really made a difference in how they're able to help patients. So most notably because the patients become focused on winning these games rather than the pain that may be associated with the exercises they're doing. And when you have trouble doing even what many would consider simple tasks like standing or walking, these games really help build confidence in these patients and help them exercise harder and longer to complete their goals.
We want to make sure that we've addressed all areas of care, their occupational therapy deficits with self-care, with high-level activities, bathing, dressing, cooking. With physical therapy, you want to make sure their transfers and their walking are safe. Can they get up off the floor? And there's a program in here to address all the deficits that they might have with speech therapy, their cognition, their swallowing functions, their language comprehension. We make sure that they are back to their prior level and are independent and safe to return home and stay there.
Now, coming up, make sure you stick with us here on Carolina in the Morning, because at 6:30, we're actually going to play one of these games and kind of give you an idea of exactly what these patients are doing to regain their independence and build up their muscle strength and get back home. So stay with us here, but for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Simple task for a healthy individual, but they can be difficult for the elderly or others with some physical limitations.
Caitlin Stansel joins us live right now to tell us about some new technology being used to help the aging regain their independence. Caitlin.
Kim and Bob, activities of daily living, so getting up from a chair or even standing for a long period of time, those are the kinds of things that the OmniVR really focuses on. They give you games to really build up your strength and make sure that you can become independent again after an injury or some other physical limitation. Now, we're going to kind of give you a preview of what these games are like. So it kind of starts off with this screen where you can choose and really cater to each individual's activity level, physical limitations, so the difficulty of the exercise, kind of the range of motion if they're going to be sitting, standing, and then the treatment time, so exactly how long this game is going to go on. So I'm going to back up here now, and we're going to set this. Now, this gaming system is very similar to the Nintendo Wii or the Xbox 360, and you can see here it's setting my location with the camera at the top of the screen, and from there we're going to get into the game here. They're going to choose a character for me. And this one focuses on the range of motion in the arm. So let's say they have a shoulder injury and they need to come back from that. They're going to play a game like this. Now we're going to pretend to throw a ball at this target. And you see here it gives you some kind of incentives for making sure that you get that full range of motion in your shoulder here. We're going to do it one more time, pretending to throw a ball at the target. There we go. We got that entire rabbit that time. And then one more. I think our goal here is 3. Whew. And so you really get the incentives, and that's what really makes this game so much fun. Patients say that it helps them really forget about the pain that they may be going through for each exercise. We're going to keep playing here as we're talking. And there are a lot of different games. So they focus on major muscle groups like the legs, arms, back, but also speech problems and comprehension. So they have some cognitive games as well. And really the more awesome part of this is that after you play the game, it gives you kind of a synopsis of how well you did and gives the therapist as well as yourself some real hard objective numbers on where you are at that point of the game and help you build some goals for where you need to be to make sure that you can get back home and be independent. Now, we talk to officials who say that they have had some really great responses from patients. Oh, this one's on the tail. But they're really fun to do. We were playing these earlier, kind of getting warmed up here. Really helps you wake up in the morning. But again, officials say that here at Liberty Commons, that these games really differ from traditional rehab methods. And again, the most important part is that it really distracts the patients from any possible pain that they may have when they need to get in all the repetitions.
The client's movements, sometimes little minor changes you might not detect with general therapy you can pick up because the camera detects their movements, and if they're slightly rotated this way, the camera will not win the game, whereas you won't know when they're doing a knee extension exercise if they're a little slightly adducted or abducted. The camera will say, oh, not acceptable, no compensating, so they'll have to adjust their movements to get the pure flexion needed.
And officials say that accuracy and the objective nature of these games is really the most important part of it. So again, they are really able to print out this sheet and kind of show the patients by the numbers how well they did. So looking at the game that I was playing, I played for 1 minute and 40 seconds, got 24 points out of that. So that means I hit 10 out of 11 targets. And again, they really use this information to not only help the patient build some goals in getting their muscle strength back, working over those physical limitations, but again, they can also send this to insurance companies and tell them why these patients need this rehab and why it's so important. Now, we're going to have more coming up on our sister station, Fox Wilmington, but for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
All right, Caitlin, thanks.
Getting patients out of surgery or recovering from an injury and back into their homes, rehab centers across the country are doing just that, helping seniors regain their independence. Caitlin Stansel live this morning now, showing us about one of those facilities here in Wilmington and what it's doing just a little bit differently. Caitlin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bob. We're live here at Liberty Commons just off of Racine Drive in Wilmington, and it's a rehabilitation center, so they really work with aging adults and those with other physical limitations, trying to get them back into their homes and get their independence back. And what they're using is some really cool new technology. It's a 3D virtual gaming system, kind of like the Nintendo Wii or the Xbox 360. except it's more catered to these aging adults. So what they have here is, just to kind of give you a synopsis of what these games are all about that they use for rehab. You can really cater it to each individual, each physical limitation. So we're going to play a game here. It's kind of like a volleyball scenario. But just looking at kind of the options you have, there's exercise difficulty. You can increase that, decrease it, the intensity of the exercise, as well as just how dynamic it is, if it's one patient or two involved in it. And again, the treatment time that is involved. So we're going to give this a go here. I'm going to back up. And just like the Wii, it has to set us here using the camera at the top of the screen to make sure that we are in the right place. Oh, I don't think it can find me yet. Oh, it's picking up someone else. Hold on. We're going to get it here. Okay, so you have to get in this box. It has to line you up because, again, it is a 3D gaming system, and it needs to make sure that you are just in the range of motion. All right, again, we're going to play some volleyball here, so just to give you an idea of how this works. Again, catered to each individual. Now, what it works on is getting people back into the range of motion. So let's say they have a shoulder injury. They're going to be playing games like this to make sure that they can really move these muscles again. So we're going to pretend to like hit the ball here. I'm doing kind of a volleyball motion, getting it to the other side of the net. And if we can take a look at how I'm hitting this ball, this is really the kind of exercise that they want, oops, a little too early, that they want these patients to do. Oh man, I am not good at this. And we put it on like minimal difficulty here. We're going to try it one more time. Okay, back, and I'm going to wait, and then, so we're going through that entire range of motion in the shoulder. And officials say this is really awesome, especially for maybe somebody who has never played sports or who doesn't have a lot of physical activity every day. They need to get these repetitions in, and the games really distract them from maybe the pain that may be associated with these exercises if they have a shoulder injury. So I talked to officials who, again, say that each individual game is catered to whatever physical limitation the patient is experiencing.
We were really hoping that it would be great for our patients that they never really exercised before in their life, so that they're struggling with just doing random repetitions and maybe might not be into that, whereas this would distract them into playing a game, so we would get the progress and outcomes that we needed for them to get better and go back home, yet it was in a fun environment, and they would work harder and do more repetitions, which is what we found. That's what we were hoping for, and it's what we found. The physical therapists were saying I could never get them to do this many repetitions without this gaming system.
And the most important part of all of this is after the game, what it does is gives you a synopsis by the numbers of how the patient did. So it lets them know where they are at this current stage. So if we kind of look at my time here, it says I played for 1 minute 28 seconds, got 9 points, so that means I went through 9 repetitions, except I might not have been going through the entire motion to get the ball over the net 3 of those times. And again, it goes through just the accuracy that we are working on. So officials say this really helps them make sure that their patients aren't compensating when they're going through the repetitions, that they're not cheating the range of motion that they need to get. And they can also use this data to give to the insurance companies and to let them know that this rehab is really important for getting the patient back on their feet, back into their homes, and get them their independence back. Now we're going to have all this information on our website, foxwilmington.com. But for now, back to you, Bob.
All right, Caitlin. Caitlin Stansel live this morning in Wilmington.